we gather here today, we would like to acknowledge with thanksgiving the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the elders of Indigenous people, past, present and future, for they hold the memories, the traditions and the culture and the hopes of Indigenous Australia.
Good evening everyone, my name's Lauren Cook and I am Head of Senior Boys at St Margaret's Berwick Grammar. For the second year in a row, we find ourselves doing remote versions of our end of year celebrations. Although I remember saying this time last year that 2020 was a year like no other, 2021 has sadly had many similarities, with our senior boys spending nearly half the year in lockdown and learning remotely. Again though, we show that the school value of character is rising to the challenges of the pandemic and the courage to continue on and change and adapt to meet our circumstances. If we could give every young man at our school an award for this, we would. Much like last year, the purpose of this evening is to celebrate everything our community has achieved even under these altered circumstances. Our senior boys have risen up to achieve excellence in the 4 A's: academics, artistry, athletics and adventure, as well as showing service to both the school and the local and broader communities. But before we begin, let's celebrate the year that was. Here are the highlights of 2021 in a photo story prepared by Fletcher Keynes of Year 11. May I remind all members of the audience that masks were not mandatory at all points during the year.
I'd like to start by acknowledging that I'm speaking to you from Wurundjeri and Boonwurrung land and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to acknowledge our President of Council, Mrs Fiona Templar, Council members, senior and school executive, families, staff and students. One of Australia's deepest thinkers recently retired. He is someone who, above all, lives a life of integrity, a determined blend of the inner and outer life with a strong commitment to humanity and making the world a better place. Deep consideration of epistemology, which is how do we know what we know? Whose voices do we listen to? Whose do we discard? These are big questions. For this professor, and he is a professor at the University of Melbourne, the epistemic virtues of curiosity, empathy, rationality, historicity, self-reflexivity and criticality are those by which he lives his life and wishes we could teach young folk to do the same. Looking at the past, reflecting on self and others in a rational, critical and empathetic way with a thirst for life fuelled by wonder and curiosity. Professor Fazl Rizvi came from India to Canberra in the 1960s with no English. As a young man, he was thrown into school where he was expected to succeed. Clearly he did. Besides being a professor at the University of Melbourne, he's also a professor at the University of Illinois, University of Hong Kong, was Pro-Vice Chancellor at RMIT and is currently working with the government of Bhutan to redesign their education system. He's published more than 18 books and over 100 articles and is in very high demand as an international speaker. Now, why am I going on about him? Well, firstly, he is my PhD supervisor and I'm honoured to work with him. And I am in the position of so many of the students at St Margaret's Berwick Grammar in that we are all trying to learn. And while it is hard, pressured and tiring, it's also exhilarating and empowering. And I confess I am a little jealous of students for whom learning is their major endeavour. I, like many of our students, am blessed to have a terrific teacher. And what struck me about his retirement speech was that in the showering of accolades that noted his incredible resilience, succeeding against the odds and so on, he batted them all back. He said, resilience is not sufficient. He said, frankly, I would not have succeeded unless someone had my back. You need a champion to believe in you, he noted. For him, it was his English teacher, Jack Brady. Jack met Fazl every day before school where he had asked him to translate the Canberra Times editorial. This one act, repeated countless times, ensured that not only Fazl learnt about Australia, but it became the foundation of his career. Now, this reflection really resonated with me. We all know of examples where an individual has worked with a young person to shape, empower, and enthuse them to try harder, to reach higher, and achieve what they can. And I believe his message was this, that no matter how resilient, capable, or clever you are, unless someone has your back and takes the time to invest in you, you are less likely to succeed. We are blessed in schools to have opportunities to invest deeply in others, especially our young. I've heard it takes 15 dedicated minutes of an adult's time, and only 15 minutes, one-on-one with a child, for that child to believe the adult cares about them. As we at our school finish our 95th year, I reflect on the occasions from this year alone that exemplify this happening. The teacher who every day chooses to meet, when they could, a young lad at the officer campus in the playground to play board games with him, to ensure that this young fellow is engaged and not lonely. The photo I posted recently of a senior girl sitting with 2 English teachers on the lawns at the Berwick campus, just chatting, encouraging and getting to know each other and supporting her learning. And this girl went on to become one of our highest achievers. Also the teachers who are so concerned about some of our students who are living away from their parents, They constantly follow up on them and check in on them. And there are many, many other examples I could give you. In short, our teachers have our students' backs. After 95 years of outstanding practice, what I love about this place is the continued emphasis on the message that we, the educators, are what the students need us to be. We were the first school to introduce trousers for girls over 25 years ago. The second school to introduce laptops in Australia back in the 1990s. I love that we are not afraid to say, I don't think this is working, let's try something else. And as we approach our 100 years with a new strategic plan and master plan under development, I'll know that we will continue to say, how is it that we can be the ones that stand beside and behind the children so that they can fly? How is it that we can support these young people to exceed their expectations and be the school, the kind of school that enables someone like 𝕊𝕠𝕪𝕤 𝕊𝕡𝕪𝕤 to flourish? As families and educators, we can all reflect on, honour and respect the capacity we have to make a difference to a young life. And I'd now like to draw your attention to some of the people that have, I believe, made that difference. We are saying goodbye to some staff who have supported, cared and challenged colleagues and students. From Berwick campus, Greg Taylor, Simon Powys, Whitney Stiles and Di Bright, Di who's leaving us after 19 years. From the Officer campus, Rachel Burke, Alice Carlisle and Helen MacDonald, all three of whom contributed to the Officer campus in significant ways since its inception. Each of these people have, I know, influenced others with their care, compassion and knowledge, and we wish you well as you pursue the next stages in your lives and careers, and thank you for your passion. From the Diversity Department, Mrs. Glenda Clark is retiring after influencing so many young people across the whole school. I also acknowledge the work of Mr. Paul Atkins, whose contribution in sport across the whole school was bearing fruit. Go well, Glenda and Paul. From junior school, we say goodbye to Joe Cook, who's also retiring after 32 years at St Margaret's Berwick Grammar School. Earlier in the year, we acknowledged the retirements of Anne Hutchinson and Marion Welton. After 35 and 22 years respectively at this school, these incredible educators have impacted the lives of literally thousands of young people and leave a legacy that includes love of languages, the arts and culture. Thank you to every teacher for your service and your contributions. The majority of VCE subjects at our school continue to be taught by teachers who are or who have access to current or past VCAA examiners. And that is an outstanding statistic that I think ensures our students get the best academic support they can. The placing of both the boys and the girls' schools in the top 10 of single-sex schools, and in the girls' case in the top 10 of all schools in the state, is testament to the quality and nature of the education. The junior school NAPLAN results this year were also literally off the scale. And I know all listening will send a large virtual round of applause to all the teachers and all the educational support staff that work with them. And I thank all for their incredible energy and commitment. In 2021, the school was recognised as an employer of choice at the National Educator Awards, and I believe this reflects the support, investment and importance we place on our staff. But can I say it's absolutely not just academic results that define us. We genuinely want to impart courage, curiosity, character and respect. This year, a significant number of teachers took up further learning. Stephen Middleton and Meg Forshington are completing a collaborative qualification from the School of Business and Education at Harvard University. Rebecca Fernandez and Deb Francis are well through their master's degrees. Other staff have also been selected for highly competitive postgraduate qualifications and PhD studies. And this is on top of the many teachers that already have completed a master's or higher. Our international mindedness agenda continues to shape what we do, and we were honoured to be asked to contribute to the Australian Curriculum Studies Association, Independent Schools Queensland, and the International Baccalaureate National and International Conferences, with a number of publications resulting. And I take the opportunity to thank Dr. Lydia Allen for her work in this space. An Indigenous garden is underway, delayed by COVID, and Murrindindi continues to be a part of the day-to-day undertakings of the school. In the next few months, a 3-metre high bunjil or eagle sculpture will be erected at the Berwick campus to protect and guide us. There is no doubt that the capacity of our young people to look beyond Berwick is outstanding. The increased action resulting from concerns regarding things like racism, climate change, youth mental health, is reflected in new activities including our Interact Club, our Academic Club, and a range of service learning initiatives that have continued right through COVID. The energy of these young people continues to amaze me. Enrolments are growing, and 2022 will see a significant growth across all parts of the school. We are a unique community that knows itself, knows what it stands for, and is constantly thirsty to improve. As a school, we need to continue to engage, excite, and motivate our young people with the curiosity to know and learn through exercising courage to do the right thing, character to be one's best self, and respect to live wisely and compassionately with others and the planet. We are very excited about working on our next strategic plan and master plan that will bring 22nd century learning spaces and programs to our community. I remind families of the revised Year 9 and 10 Odyssey program that gives the girls access to the tall ships and a much greater sharing of the unique programs at either campuses. In spite of COVID limitations, there have been terrific advancements in the programs relating to things like careers, well-being, and life choices, in particular the Spark program. And we were fortunate to get a number of symbolic events completed this year, including many camps, the musical Matilda, and of course the formal. We are, however, looking forward to undertaking the remaining experiential opportunities once COVID restrictions allow. We continue to undertake regular safety surveys which capture not only concerns re bullying and racism, but also give the children a chance to reflect on the structures and programs at the school, as well as the general child-safe considerations linked to the 11 child-safe standards. And as I speak to you, our school is in the middle of a VRQA review to ensure that our school is performing at the highest level. Finally, I'd like to take this opportunity to make specific mention of some people. The Senior Executive, Dr. Stephen Middleton, Miss Louise Sayer, Miss Meg Fortington. Our Director of Engagement, Mr. Nigel Halsey. Director of Business Operations, Mark Janke. Our Director of Risk and Compliance, Ms. Nolene Mazza. I thank you for your support, creativity, problem-solving capacity, flexibility, and collaboration. All those skills we are endeavouring to impart to our students, and my goodness, did we need them this year. I also thank other leaders, including Lauren Cook, Deb Francis, Martin Visser, Paul Atkins, and Melissa Graham. I pay particular attention to our educational support staff who maintain systems, buildings, and grounds that are some of the best around. To the council members, I acknowledge not only the time and energy that you give to this role, but the incredible importance of wise and informed governance that you also provide. I acknowledge particularly the outstanding contribution of the President of Council, Mrs. Fiona Templar, to the functioning of our school this year. It's been a tough year for so many, but Fiona was always there with a smile, advice, and an openness for which the community should be incredibly thankful, especially in such a year as this. To the students, you have continued to be resilient, inventive, clever, and kind. The leaders at all levels of the school have had to rise to the challenge of leading remotely, and you student leaders have done it spectacularly well. To Year 12, I take this opportunity, as I do every year, to encourage you to connect to the Old Girls and Old Boys Network. This group is a growing, exciting network that I know will prove incredibly supportive for you in both your careers and lives generally. I don't know how you've done it, but you've still managed to present as a very cohesive, warm, funny, clever and strong cohort. Finally, to the parents and families, I commend you for all the support and care you have shown each other and the school. I believe everyone has reached out to every other to demonstrate curiosity and respect, and in particular this year, courage and character. One thing COVID has taught us is that given sufficient technological capacity and support, children won't fall behind academically, and the results at our school are showing that. We must, however, as adults, absolutely have the children's back, believe in them, laugh with them and cry with them to support them emotionally, so that when they wobble in life, as they surely will, we will be there to steady them. Just like Jack Brady was there for Fazel, I know we will be there for all our children. And I finish with our vision statement, Virtute et Labore. Strive to be our best selves for the betterment of all humanity and the planet. Thank you.
Good evening, St Margaret's Berwick Grammar School community. Welcome to our second online speech night. This is in stark contrast to the early roots of our school, when Miss Dora Gibson established a small primary school, securing the use of a Presbyterian church hall and manse for the purpose of establishing a home school for girls under 12 in the Toorak district. The course of instruction included scripture, kindergarten, English grammar and literature, history, geography, arithmetic, nature studies, needlework, drawing, deportment, French, music and class singing. The fees were set at £40 per annum. From our humble beginnings, St Margaret's Berwick Grammar today stretches over 3 well-appointed campuses and caters for both boys and girls from pre-prep to Year 12, offering a wide range of subjects and extracurricular activities. Our school embraces its heritage whilst keeping a watchful eye on our present and future. This year, our school celebrated its 95th birthday, and while some of the functions and events had to be cancelled, we certainly have had much to celebrate. Academically, we are one of the top schools in the state, with 12% of our senior girls last year achieving an ATAR over 99, placing them in the top 1% of the nation, and almost a third of our senior boys achieving an ATAR over 90, placing them in the top 10% of the nation. The results from the recent NAPLAN testing across the relevant year levels were exceptional. As we approach our centenary, School Council has secured the contracts of our key leaders, Mrs Annette Rome and Dr Stephen Middleton. A new strategic plan is being undertaken, and we invite the community's engagement, as we believe it is through this consultation process that we will develop an even better school for the future. The school launched its new visual identity this year, One Unicorn, One School, and you will see the new branding throughout the school. The ethos of One School is stronger than ever before. We have engaged the services of top architects to assist us in developing a new school building and grounds master plan, which will take us through to the next decade. Although this is in its embryonic stages, there is talk of a new arts complex, a STEM centre and a sports precinct. An extensive amount of work has been done in the financial structuring of the school. We have refinanced our bank loans and strengthened our financial position during the year. We have reviewed a significant number of school policies and have a better understanding of our risks. To this end, I would like to thank our Director of Business, Mr Mark Janke and his team, and fellow council members, Mr Pino Stravalli, Mr Sam Pritchard and Mr Graham Boulty for their commitment to this endeavour. A property and facilities manager was appointed, and you will most likely see ongoing changes being made around the school. Some of the more recent items which have been addressed are the upgrade of the LED lights at both the Officer and Berwick campus, the planting of the garden around the staff car park at the Officer campus, and the installation of air purification units throughout the school. Thanks must go to Mr. Patrick Brennan for his strong leadership in this area, and fellow Building and Grounds Council and subcommittee members Mrs. Amy Ridgway, Mr. 𝕊𝕠𝕪𝕤 and Mr. Jason Perry. Mr. Evan Gorky retired from the committee this year, and I would like to acknowledge his immense contribution to the school. This year, Professor 𝕊𝕟𝕚𝕚 was appointed to council. He brings with him extensive knowledge in the local and international education sectors, which completes our board. Whilst it has been a slow process recruiting a full contingent of council members, I am convinced that we have the right mix of knowledge and skills to oversee the future of our school. I would also like to thank Ms. Shemaine Nathaniels and Ms. Julia Utan for their continued contribution to council. It truly is an exciting time in the history of the school. As I move into my third term as President of School Council, I can see the progress we are making, and I would like to extend my thanks to all council members who give so freely of their time, resources and knowledge. In particular, Council Deputy Presidents Mr. 𝕊𝕠𝕪𝕤 𝕊𝕡𝕟 and Mr. Patrick Brennan for their support, guidance and wisdom, and for the time and effort you have given to your roles as Chair of Finance and Risk Management and Building and Grounds respectively. During the duration of this pandemic, I have been profoundly touched by the resilience and commitment shown by our close-knit St Margaret's Berwick Grammar community. We know that education does not change the world. Education changes people and people change the world, and our staff in particular have gone above and beyond under these extenuating circumstances. Our teaching team is made up of dedicated and compassionate professionals who have not shied away from stressful situations. As the landscape has continuously changed, they have remained agile. Despite every change and new hurdle, everyone has remained positive and developed creative solutions. They've rolled up their sleeves and exceeded expectation, continuing to place our school at the forefront of the educational space. On behalf of School Council, I would like to thank you all. Once again, it has been my privilege to work alongside our school leader, Miss Annette Rome, whose foresight in navigating our school through this pandemic has been inspirational. Not only has she managed to almost complete her PhD on developing international mindfulness, at all times she has remained the consummate professional. The hours have been long, the climate challenging, the boundaries constantly changing, and not once did she waver from the task at hand. Council would like to extend their thanks and gratitude to her and Deputy Principal Dr. Stephen Middleton and the school senior executive team for their leadership, insight and the professional manner they adopt in their everyday approach. I would like to acknowledge the contribution they are making to shaping the future of our school. As we once again bid farewell to our Year 12s, our COVID cohort, who have managed to complete their senior education in the midst of a pandemic, I hope that over the course of your journey you have been inspired and encouraged to accomplish extraordinary things. You have walked alongside your peers, your parents and staff, all of whom believe in you. Now is the time for you to have faith and belief in yourselves. As you leave our school gates to embark on the next part of life's journey, be empowered and embrace all the challenges and opportunities that will undoubtedly come your way. Most of all, be proud of what you have achieved and who you have become. Hold dear our core values of courage, curiosity, character and respect. Above all, remember you are exceptional young men and women who have graduated from St Margaret's Berwick Grammar. One of the strengths of our wonderful school is its community, and it is the strength of our community that has enabled us to rise to the challenges of the past few years. I would like to acknowledge and thank the parents for your continued support of our leaders, our teachers, and of our wonderful school in such trying times, for entrusting your children to us. As we slowly move out of lockdown into a world of artificial intelligence, globalisation, and the digitalisation of the new world, one thing remains constant. Things that are important today will remain so. Being a good person will always be important. and these are the values that underpin our core strategy. We are a robust organisation, and we will continue to grow and explore innovative ways for our children to learn in a global environment. Our shared experience has strengthened our resolve, and we are excited for our future. Thank you.